Hi everyone. So at work we decided that we are going to be Super Mario characters, and I decided I want to be Bowser. So I've been on a quest to make myself a costume, and I thought while I was making it I would record it to show others, to give them inspiration in case they are thinking about being Bowser and want some ideas on how they can make costume pieces. Okay, so my plan is to take this, which used to be a avocado Halloween costume, which was in the big box outlet clearance section. I think I got this for 50 cents. I'm going to turn it into the turtle shell that he has on the back. And so I've got this, which I will stuff with a bunch of stuffing after. And then I found this at the thrift store, which I am going to use to make the white trim around the shell. And then I plan to create a design in Cricut Design Space and iron on the black markings on here. Okay, and then I'm going to cut some circles, and then on top of that it's going to be those spikes that he has on his back. And just for reference, this is the look I'm going for. So here we are in Cricut Design Space, and we are going to make our own turtle shell cutout so that we can put the vinyl lines on our costume. So all you need to do is start with this symbol here. All right, and then you're going to build your shell. I kept referring to a picture of Bowser's shell so that I knew what the design was. And for his, he has, or at least what they're showing is they're putting two in the middle like that. Okay, so you build out for word from here, and then you just keep duplicating these and, trying to evenly space them. I'm not going to spend too much time on doing the spacing right now because I've already done that part. Basically, I'm just going to check that I have the exact design that I did down here. Because this is the one that I had done. So yeah, I had my lines a lot closer together. Okay, so now that you've got your pattern here, I am going to, well, first of all, I'm going to duplicate this in case I make any mistakes. This one, the lines are a little bit far, so I'm going to use this one now. So I'm just going to delete this, but I wanted to show you how you make it. So I put the lines closer together, and then I just get a shape. This oval works. And I'm going to change the oval to gray so it's easier to see against the black. And then you make this, you got to size this so that you can kind of make a circle here. Now I already have a circle. Where's the circle? Where's the one that I use? Okay, it's way down here. So just want to get the same size. All right. So now I've got my circle, and I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to click both of them and go a lot. Well, actually, first thing I need to do, let me take this off. So what I want to do is slice out the circle. You actually don't have to, because really all we want when we're cutting is we want this inner white line pattern, right? And you could just leave it like that. But if you want to save on a little bit of vinyl, because it's going to cut out this as well, you can take the oval and you can slice it out of here to make it look more like a turtle shell. But in order for me to slice, these are all individual pieces right now, and you can't slice, you can only slice one item at a time. So I have to highlight all of this and weld them together. Okay, so now they're all one piece. So then I can take the circle, or the oval, and I can select both. And first I'm going to align center. Okay, and then I'm going to slice. All right, and now you can see we've got our turtle shell. Now really all we need is this piece right here. I'm going to delete this one. All we really need is this piece right here. But it doesn't matter, because if you cut this out, you're going to get the same result. So next thing you want to do is, depending on how you want your shell to look, because I bought that costume piece, I had to customize this based on what that costume piece already was. So I ended up having to like widen my shell. And so you can just edit your, however you want your shell to look, longer, skinnier, fatter. But I ended up having to make mine more circular because of the piece of fabric that I bought that was already made. into a design. Okay, so that's all there is to it. Then we're going to cut this out to get these lines to iron on. Now mine was a huge piece, so even bigger. So I needed it about like, I think I made this one too wide. Hang on. Yeah, so I needed it about like that, okay? This is too big for a Cricut mat, in my case. Now I do have a 24-inch long mat, so the length is fine. It's just the width. So all I did was, if you're making a big one like I am, take a square and make it big. And make it tall, like that. And I might just change it gray just for easier to see again. Okay, so again, you want to get this into approximately the center. And then you're going to highlight these two. And go to this edit tool and slice again. And then you will end up with two halves. Okay, and then now you can run this on your Cricut mat. I'm trying to show you the size. So it can go on a 24-inch mat and it's only 10.2 wide. So then I'm cutting two of these now. So that's how I did it. And now we'll go over to assembly. So because the pattern I'm making is so big, I needed to do 12 by 24 mat, and I needed to cut two of these. I've just weeded the one half right now, and then I'll be putting them together. I know it does waste a lot of vinyl, but you can actually cut these pieces here and save them for later. So for example, here I can take my X-Acto knife and cut these middle sections out right down to the liner so that I'm not wasting as much material. Okay, so here you go. If you cut it out, you can save these pieces and use them later on. And then we're going to put that piece and this piece together. I am going to figure out exactly where I want to place this. I've got some trimming to do here. Trim this a little bit shorter and figure out exactly. I had to do this in two pieces, so these are going to have to overlap slightly, but I think it's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to try this at 315 for about 16 seconds. And I'll just keep doing that until I get it all on. Okay, so there we go. We've got the start of it. We've got the vinyl on here now. And now I'm going to take this to start the white trim all the way around the edges here. Circles of iron-on in each section to match what Bowser's shell looks like. Okay, so I mentioned I got this from a thrift store, and what it is it was one of those scarves with the bear head. Cut off the bear head part right here. And now what I'm doing is I'm rolling this up. See, I've already sewn this part of it. I'm rolling it and sewing it together, so it's going to make the edging. But so if you're looking for something similar, yeah, check out your thrift stores. Okay, so now I think it's time to hand sew this on because it's just going to be too thick to go through the machine. Okay, so this is coming along now. This was my little model here. But really all you need to do is just buy some green felt, enough for two pieces so you can sew them together, because I will be putting something inside, some padding inside. So all you really need is, you know, just buy yourself some green felt, and you'll need two pieces of this. And then you'll be able to do the same thing, same process that I'm doing. So I bought some tan kind of colored felt, and I want to make the underside of the shell. Even though it's going to be on my back and no one's going to see it, I kind of want it for the times that it's not on my back and it's just going to be displayed somewhere so that it'll look like a full shell. And I think I'll get some iron on and cut these black patches and also iron them on. So what I've done is I've matched up the shape to this, and I ran it through my sewing machine, and I decided instead of using vinyl for these little lines, I just sewed black lines. Because as I said, it's just to add a little bit of effect on here. And then I'm just going to sew it on the underside of this. And I'm working on maybe having some straps on the side. I'm not sure, but if I don't need them, I can just cut them off. So my cones finally arrived today, which is what I'm going to use for all the spikes here. I'm going to put them on. I still am trying to decide if I just want to glue them or Velcro them on. But what I need to do is measure how big the circle is on the bottom here. It is almost 2 inches, not quite. So I'll probably make 2.5 inch red circles that I can iron on here. And then I'll figure out how I'm going to attach these. Okay, I think if I was to do this again, I would make these circles just a little bit bigger. The red iron-on. Okay, so I have decided I am going to use Velcro on the bottom of these so that when it comes to storing this, I can take these off and this can be like folded up and stored in not such a big fashion. So these are all ironed on now, and now I'm just using the peel and stick Velcro, and then that's going to go on there. And what I actually decided was that I'm going to use a paint pen here and just put some red around there just to give it a little bit more dimension. Or, I mean, sorry, make it look like it's going to blend in better instead of having this kind of big gap there that's noticeable. So I'm going to paint all the bottoms of these with red. And if you wanted to, you could get some like brown paint and kind of brush it upwards to spikes look a little dirty so they're not so perfectly white. All right, now all that's left to do is add some padding in here. At least for this part of the costume. Here's the turtle shell. I'm almost done. I still have some sewing to do. But here's the underside. Still have to sew this up because I put stuffing in. But otherwise, it's pretty cool, huh? If you're lucky enough to find a shell like this at a thrift store, which I just found the other day, you can use it to make other turtle shells. We have a lot of people being Yoshis, different colored Yoshis. So I thought, well, I'll make an extra one just in case somebody doesn't have one. And I took off those extra pieces that it had, and then I used the spackling to fill in the holes that were left over from removing those pieces. And then I sprayed it white, and then now I'm going to paint it. I'm going to make this one red. So I'm just going to paint it over red. And when I'm done painting it red, I think I'll try using a paint pen to draw in the lines, but I'm not sure yet if that's going to work, or if I'll have to try and figure out how to cut the vinyl to go on there. I know I can't iron on vinyl because it's a hard plastic, but I could use regular vinyl maybe. And then I'm going to use some more of that white stuff to do the trim around the shell. Now I know it's not really the right shape of shell, but considering it only costs $3 to pick up that shell that was already done, I thought we can make it work. For the start of Bowser's mask that I'm making, if you remember, I used the scarf part of it for the around the turtle shell over there. So I cut off that. And then this was the bear face that was left over. And then I will be putting some more puff in here for the cheeks. But this is just the start of it. Okay, so on to the face. You know, you can go to Party City and buy a Bowser mask for $12.99. It's just the front facing part of the mask, which I'm kind of wishing I did now at this point. I just didn't want to have something over my whole face. So this is what I'm doing. I'm not going into big detail about this because it's kind of one of those things where I'm just putting things together to try and make it work. But I just wanted to include it for you. So remember that the white part of the scarf that was a bear head, I've kind of used that underneath this, and then I covered it over with a tan color felt. I should have just left it white, but anyways, I've done this. And then I had to do some stitching around here to make the nose a little bit more predominant. And then with iron on vinyl, I put the little nose on there. And now so far for the hat, I got a piece of felt here, which I've kind of made into a cap, I guess you could say. And then I bought these horns from Temu, and now I've hot glued those on. And then this is going to eventually go on here. And then out of craft foam, I've cut out some eyes and eyebrows. And then I've got some red stuff here that I'm probably also going to add on just to make it a little bit more puffy. And I bought this from Temu as well. It's going to be a mohawk that goes down the back of the hat. And I'm currently printing off some eyes to put in here, but these are too big, so I have to print them smaller. And let's see what else. So yeah, I've got some stuffing in here, but so at Value Village, I picked up this old Mickey hat because I wanted the ears, to take the ears off of this to glue onto this pumpkin that I made. So now I've got this leftover cap, and it's got the string and everything on it. So what I figured I can do with this, which is I can put it inside there just to make this hat a little bit stronger, and then I already have the string, and I'm probably either going to sew it on or glue it. So I don't really need it, but I might put it in there just for some extra strength. And then I was working on the gloves yesterday, which I also got from Temu, and I made these nails, which aren't that great, but basically what I did was, again, using some white craft foam, I cut them into triangles. These are just leftover pieces, so these ones aren't very good. But basically, I cut the triangles, and then I put some glue along there, and I let that dry. And then when that's dry, you know, I can fold it over into a circle and glue the other side. So that's kind of like how I made those. And I'll probably make some like that for the front teeth, for his teeth down here. I'll still have to make a tail, and I don't know if I'll get that in the video because I really want to get this on YouTube before Halloween. But maybe after Halloween, I'll update a picture at the front of the video with the whole costume. Okay, so I glued the eyes together first, and then, you know, I glued them on to the hat, I guess you could say. And then I made that little tube in the middle to make him look more angry on the nose. And then I hand sewed it together. And then I added the long bit of hair there at the back. And that's basically how it turned out. So for my front piece, I've just got another piece of felt here that I've cut. And then this is a little thicker. I believe it's called Pellin, but it's like a felt, but it's just thicker. So this is going to be just the back. This is going to be the front. And what I'm doing is I'm adding some, like a piece of foam, not foam, what is this? Cotton batting kind of stuff there. And what I'm going to do now is just take my sewing machine and do some lines across. And I'm hoping that with this on the back, it'll create a little bit of puff to create those for the front of the stomach. And then I'll sew that onto this so it'll be a little bit stronger. And I was able to get a little bit of puff going here. Now I'm just going to sew it onto this back plate here and put some straps at the top. Okay, so here it is. I'm not a sewer, and I had a lot of trouble with my machine and the threads, so I was just happy to get it sewed together. Straps here I'm going to attach to the turtle shell on the back, so these will wrap over my shoulders. And yeah, so now, okay, so it looks like I'm not going to have time to show you making the tail, but I do want to show you that you'll need about 5 spiked things, 2 to go around the wrist area, 2 for higher up on the arm, and then 1 to go around below his neck here. So yeah, that will be pretty much what you need. And of course, either a yellow sweatshirt and yellow pants, or a yellow t-shirt with long sleeves. All right, well, if you're going to try and make a costume, I wish you could send me a photo so I could see it. But when I'm done, I will have someone take a photo of me wearing it, and then I'll edit my video and put it at the front after Halloween. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and take care.